Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for doing this and appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you have any questions after that,
Yeah.
call us or whatever, we're happy to
We'll
answer.
let you know.
Thank you.
Okay, what's that?
What is he on? I haven't seen him. Is he coming?
Russ?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so. No, I think what happened is they just submitted his budget with theirs.
Oh, okay.
So,
we can wait till
and,
they
and
made it.
he is, I don't think Russ,
Okay, so we can do that later after we get.
what I can tell you about that, I'm the liaison to the weights and
No, he's
measures.
at 11.
And his contention with that budget, if you're looking at it, is basically a bit of an increase in his, it's an increase in his salary based on kind of what Patrick was talking about. Essentially saying the only way we're gonna replace that is to have to pay more, so just be aware it's worth more than keeping.
So we're sliding the surveyor in, we got about 9 minutes.
We're sliding the surveyor.
So make it fast.
Well, you're a slippery kind of guy.
Thank you. I'm gonna take that as a compliment.
Of course he would.
Exactly.
That's right, that's what I was gonna say.
I appreciate those.
Well, we appreciate you being positive, so. Give us just a minute to get ready, Beth. We'll be back here in a moment.
Just keep thinking right now.
David?
Drinking that water.
Right? My husband. Niagara Falls is show for you. Mr. Cole. Mr. Cole. Yeah, you missed it. Can you answer? Well, he missed it.
Answer a question, depending on what it is.
Well, I noticed you said something about the inmates that get sent to a mental health institution like Logan Sports or Richmond, was it?
Richmond, Logansport, Evansville,
How much money was set aside for that?
it's a couple $1,000.
Oh, okay.
It's
Do
not a
you-
lot of money,
Well,
but
that's
it's
why I
only
never heard of
when
it.
our residents, are in those hospitals, they'll send us both for it.
Right, that's what he said. Do you know how many we have actually sent to those hospitals in the last, I think, say 5 years?
It's never a lot, I bet there might be
One, two.
you know, a dozen a year that we're paying for clothing and stuff like that.
All right, folks, we're sliding our esteemed surveyor in. Thanks, Ken, for coming by. Share with us your budget and why you think it needs to be what it is.
Taking over the department, there was a lot of things that probably did not happen during the period of time when Tom was there. It's not a dig at Tom one way or the other. A lot of things probably slipped through the cracks for whatever reason. And to get it back to where it needs to be, it'll take more than just this budget time to correct it. We have a lot of drains, a lot of issues out there that we just don't have the money, and the first thing I always look at, and the group looks at now, is do we have the money to pay for what do we have? Do what we need to do. At this point, we just don't run by the seat of the pants. We have to have the money in there. And I've said no a few times to taking care of stuff because we just don't have the money out there. I have a wish list, and I have the reality that I submitted to you guys is the budget is what I could live with the next year. I don't have much in the general fund. I don't ask for much. It comes out of the perpetual. But that has to come to an end. I just come back from conference for the surveyors. How we've never got in trouble with the State Board of Accounts with using the perpetual fund when we're not using it what it's meant for cornerstones. Last year, we only did 14 cornerstones the whole year. You guys asked for an update when I hired that person. We're at 131 cornerstones year to date this year alone. Here's where we're at since we added that person. Haven't got to the drains yet. We're still working on the watersheds. So the return on the investment is gonna be there, for what you gave me, and I appreciate that, thank you, but there's a lot more work to be done. But in the Cornerstone Perpetual Fund, I'm looking to, and this wasn't on here, this is all gonna be new to you. I'm looking to see if we can pull some payroll out of the perpetual fund and move it to the general fund. And I had written it out when I was out there, and basically it comes up to be $18,200 that I feel that I can justify if I got an audit tomorrow from the State Board of Accounts. I can justify what the group does with the perpetual fund, meaning that we're working personally with Cornerstones in that fund.
So
And
you're
when-
thinking the 18.2 can stay in the perpetual, is that what
No,
you're saying?
no, what I'm asking is, I need to pull out, like we'll just use, the Cornerstone manager that I hired, all his money stays into the budget, both the general and also through perpetual fund.
So that's 21,000 here in the general fund,
The general fund.
Cornerstone manager, requested budget, it's,
Yeah, let me get that out.
or is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about the account 11, and the perpetual fund will be the 1202, Cornerstone 1202.
So that's not on here.
You don't, okay. 1202 is our Cornerstone perpetual fund, and out of that, then 1100 is myself, 11009 is Cornerstone manager, 11309 is the supervisor, the drains.
But, so, wait a minute, sorry.
Okay.
That's a
Th-
separate
th-
fund.
those-
It's a separate fund.
Right, but you're articulating, lines on this particular page here.
Okay, I don't have that page, I'm sorry, guys, in front of me. I just got back from conference and I was,
That's okay, as long as we're talking, I just wanna make sure we're talking about the same
Yeah, I just need to know.
numbers.
what
So
you're
it's
talking
elected official, Cornerstone manager, you know, this is a general fund budget.
right, you don't have the
Yes.
perpetual fund.
We don't have the perpetual fund, so
about. So what was the 18.2?
which part comes,
Eight.
yeah, which part comes from the perpetual
Okay.
fund?
We pay so much in salaries in the perpetual fund. When I look at what percent that I study, that I work on the Cornerstone, so let's say 9,400 of my dollars comes out of perpetual fund. I'm asking you to back out $3,400 and put that into the general fund. I'm trying to get a balance of what I spend on Cornerstone to what the dollars are really there. So if I back out my salary, let's say it's at $60,000, 10% is 6,000, it's a little bit more than that. But I asked to back out 3,400 and move it over to the general fund, so more in line to when what time we spend in the Cornerstone Perpetual Fund working this account. If that makes sense.
So the portion of your salary is proportionate to the time you spent on the Cornerstone.
Right,
Right.
and this one's correct.
And so he has somebody in his office that doesn't do 100% of the work on
Right.
Cornerstone. And so he needs some of their salary paid out of the general fund in case there's an audit.
And is
Which
that
we do
person,
get that.
and is that person on this salary, is that?
Yeah, we're on here, all of us are on here, I'm just trying to back us out of the perpetual fund to
Okay.
be more in line to the,
I understand what you're saying.
Okay.
So these numbers that
Dr.
you
Green,
have
look
here.
at-
Well,
like-
yeah, so the elected official for the 2026 budget, 56,294. Is
Right.
that the whole salary, or is that a portion of the salary, and another portion of the salary comes from
correct,
somewhere else?
that is correct.
And is that an
Oh.
increase in your salary, or is it just moving money from perpetual to here?
Just moving money.
Okay, so
From
it's not an
perpetual to here.
And is the proposed?
But the increase
already
is a
moved?
3%, is that there's an increase of 3% in there, I only did a 3% across the
So
board.
there is an increase, not just
Yeah.
a swap
Oh, no.
from the other
Okay,
budget? Okay.
yes, I did put a 3% across the board in here.
That's
Okay, so-
4.8.
I got a 4.8%.
Yeah, the
That's
problem is the
because
numbers aren't all
he's
on the
moving,
same
Well,
and that
okay.
you're gonna get that for a lot of departments, this is not just the surveyor's
Yeah.
office, like the auditor's office is the same way, and the prosecutor's office, and that's the problem with having them only bring us their general fund, instead of bringing the general fund and all their supplementals at the same time, so you can lay them out and. put it all
So how much are you
together.
moving, I wanna know each line item.
Okay.
We need
Yeah.
that.
How much
Okay.
are you
We need
moving,
to see
how much
all
are
of
you
the-
moving over from the
What's that, in
Cornerstone
August?
for the
Okay,
surveyor?
thank
Okay, here's
Focus on
total or just
No,
per
no.
line?
Just how much per line, how much are you moving
Okay.
over for just the surveyor line, for you,
For me, $3,400,
$3,400,
I'm asking
to be moved over?
to move over to general
Okay.
fund.
But that is
You're not
not
moving the
included
money
in this
though,
number.
right?
here.
Yes,
Well,
no, that is
I can't
included in
move-
here.
I can't take 3,400 petrol fund, I'm asking the general fund to absorb the 3,400.
And that's in these numbers, right?
No,
It's
this is,
not in the numbers.
hold on,
Okay.
I,
Hold on, this is,
since coming back from
I
conference.
understand.
Okay, I'm trying to get more in line to what the state requires when we get an audit. So I'm looking at, we have two funds.
I understand.
Okay, 5,300 and 9,000, so I make 63,000 out of that, using both funds. Say this fund pays, I don't know, what are we thinking here, 30%, this one pays, the general fund pays 70%, basically, let's use that for numbers, and the perpetual fund covers 30%, and makes 100% of that number.
Right.
And need to back out and move it over to the general
I
fund, but I
understand
can't give you the money to give you to, I'm asking
No,
the
I
general fund.
understand that. I
Okay.
just wanna know that these numbers that are on this sheet here,
Right.
okay? So when you've got, 56,294, is that already anticipating moving over that 3,400?
No, cause
So
it
that's
got,
just an increase that you put in there?
we just went through this the last 2 days, this is a rough,
Okay.
I went through rough math. So I would have to move over 3,400 to the if you gave the raise at 3% at 56,294, or if you left it at 53,614, if you choose no raises. I'm still asking to move 3,400, so I'm asking from the general budget that I would get 34 plus 53.
what is the number for elective, for your position?
Here's what I'm asking to move over,
Yes.
and we can back from that. I'm asking to move 3,400 from the perpetual fund,
34, what's the cornerstone manager?
nothing. That's 100%.
Okay.
There's no reason moving that money.
I
Okay,
have a
what-
question.
What's the supervisor,
Yeah,
drain?
let's get started, okay.
Supervisor of drains would be $3,800,
Okay,
Moved over?
what's the assistant supervisor?
7,000,
7,000 moved over, and these
Yeah.
are based on the time they spend.
correct,
The office manager,
4,000, which comes out to be $18,200,
so the total is $18,200.
which is, I'm asking to move over. This is a new, if you do it, I'm asking, I'm presenting it to you guys, see if we can just move that money over. I know it's gonna be new money to the general fund. And so there's two thoughts here. One is that it has to be aligned to what the state requires through an audit. The second is, when we get our money through a perpetual fund, it's based on deeds from the recorder. So if you sell property, change, whatever you do with anything with property, deeds, we get $5. And give you an idea, 2021, we got on 24,000 coming from the recorder's office. Today we get, or last year we got 88,000. I'm on track to do about 70,000. I won't have the money in there eventually.
So are we not
Well, the economy
transferring as
slowed
much
down.
property?
No, everything's slowed down out there. The interest rates are too high. You don't see a lot of people moving property. I mean, people are, don't get me wrong, and they're changing these, but, you know, from 124,000 to 80,000, we're talking 44,000, we're talking what? 43% decrease in a short period of time. I don't want to deplete this fund to do what I have to do outside this building, mean cornerstones. We have 2,000 cornerstones plus, which I told you guys in the past. We've not done a very good job maintaining them. I've hired 3 surveyors over here, which we didn't use local surveyors in the past. I negotiated a great price, super. An average cornerstone coming from conference, they're paying $1,200 to $1,500. I pay $125 to $325. Big difference, huge difference. I couldn't hire somebody cheaper and put them on payroll than what I'm getting across right there. So I've done a good job, hopefully you guys think that I went and looked at the picture and said, okay, how do we make this make sense so this fund never runs out of money and we're using it for the right things that we need to do. That's the only thing I'm asking, just to move some of the payroll over. Again, I don't have much of the general fund. I'm a sliver of that little fund.
Okay, my question's for Todd. Okay. I'm not trying to start something, okay, I promise. Okay, so last year, I questioned the auditor's office over the plat book maintenance
Yes.
fund. And my understanding of that was that you that the employee didn't automatically make the entire amount from the general fund and the plat book maintenance fund put together, because they could only make that money in the plat book maintenance fund when they did the work for plat book maintenance. So is this the same thing for
No,
Cornerstone?
we're doing it different, I think
It's
it's
the
different, we've
same thing
actually,
he's trying to adjust to.
I think we've actually
only-
supplemented their income by paying, they get that full amount in that cornerstone, that's their income. Not like the auditor where they only get it when they do it. So it's like a supplemental fund that they only pay, okay, you worked on it today, so you get $50 of that, right? Am I right?
It's very similar, we work on percentages on things, trying to figure out how much of their job is doing that particular function. So it's actually exactly the same as what Ken's trying to model his budget.
Sorry to interject here, but I do wanna kind of keep us on track. One quick question related to this budget.
Yes,
You
sir.
added 3,000 of office supplies that weren't in the budget, 5,000 of printing and advertising,
Yep.
5,000 of other services. Were those just not done or needed?
Well, we
Or
added-
did that come from another fund too?
No, we added the extra person, when we start doing cornerstones and when we start printing up and the maps, the cost of supplies alone, the ink for the plotter for up there is just expensive.
Those are substantial
But we
increases
didn't-
from zero.
Yeah, but back when, okay, Dr. Green, if you think, if you ran an office, you didn't do anything, and you ran on bare minimum, and it was status quo every year, there's gonna be, nothing and nothing's still gonna be nothing, because you didn't manage your department. The numbers I gave you is realistic numbers that I believe that I never have to come back and ask next year. I might transfer money from one account to another, looking at what happens like in supplies and so on, but I won't have to come ask you to do my job for additional funds. I'm giving you what I believe that's a true number, and when you
But
start
what it's
looking.
gonna cost to run your office.
Right.
That's what you're saying.
Right, when you look at perpetual fund, I think back when Pat Manship was here, and I'm not gonna throw him under the bus either, when they started cutting back, they had 7 people. You can take whatever you want, take my employees, move the money to the perpetual fund, I think that's how we got here. Not to say it's the correct way how we got to these numbers for every year they had budgets, but it is what it is today. As a business person that I am, I have to look at it the other way and say, okay, what makes perfect sense, what have I saved? This year alone, in this perpetual fund, I was budgeted 106,000. We're at 72. I bought a vehicle in there. The vehicle I had was destroyed when I had to turn it in. But I have $34,000 savings. Am I gonna use much more than that? Yeah, a little bit, but not much more than that. So I'm trying to save everywhere possible from the budget that I gave you last year. Just a quick snapshot when I looked at that office to where we're at now. Now I've had time to be in the office saying, okay, what does it take to really run this office? And I gave you realistic
Which would
numbers.
be your priority, Tom? The raises or the office stuff? If you were going to choose.
Okay, my number one asset is everybody that works for me. If you don't look at it like that, then we're lost. I would give them a raise before I'd ever take one. I didn't do this for the job, for the money. I don't need the money. And I can say that personally, say that, it doesn't matter to me. They're my assets. If I don't have them, then we're done. No, let's not even open the courthouse anymore. So if you give me nothing to give them a raise, I'll make it work if that's what it has to. But I'm a small part.
I hear you.
So the
I have a
three,
question.
oh,
On the Cornerstone manager, you're asking for 21,000. Again, it's on that sheet.
Yeah.
It's new this year. I thought that person came out of production.
Part of it does.
that was a new person.
Because he has to do also the drains that we haven't got into. I mean, we still have to finish the watershed. Yeah,
So
so,
this isn't like another person you're
No,
gonna be hiring,
no,
it
no.
says new employee, but it's
Yeah.
the
No.
employee that we already.
We passed, yeah, a couple months ago.
Yeah, and the 3% is off of their whole salary based upon what's in the perpetual.
And that's the problem when we take out, we got into that problem.
Yeah.
Yes.
where we take out a general and perpetual, and if we apply 3%, then we end up
I think you have,
having to apply.
if you're gonna do 3%, you apply 3% countywide regardless where they're getting paid out of. You can't absorb that into the general fund
just saying, if the 3% of whatever's being paid out of the perpetual fund needs to, it needs to come out of that.
Needs to be come out.
Yeah, it makes perfect. And I can control it with that, cause I can justify it. And then I have a $15,000, you know, I have a cushion here, let's not kid each other, so. You wanna call it I have a 15,000 part-time for next year that we absorbed in for this year. My thinking there was, we're gonna go look at these robots that mow ditches.
Is that on
I-
this?
No, it's on the
So
perpetual
you're-
fund.
Okay, so
But
I
it's-
suggest this, yeah, you're looking at numbers we don't have.
Yes.
So what needs to happen, if you can construct a very clear email with all of the numbers and send them to us,
We have it, I mean, he sent it to Todd and I, so
Oh.
do you want me to just forward it?
that would be great. Yes, thank you. But
Also,
for our
if you
discussion
look at your-
today, we need to move to our,
Well, I have one quick question.
prosecutor, so yeah, please, quickly, yeah.
So you were saying with the office supplies and some of these other increases, printing and advertising and other services and charges are, because of the extra work with the Cornerstone management and things like that, like printing off things and the ink and things like that?
Well, it's gonna be more than that, it's gonna be, I'm gonna do assessments on the drains. We've done one in 16 years. I've sent out notices, there could be 500 people in the watershed advertising. I have to advertise it and then mail it to them.
I just didn't know if the portion of that was gonna be directly affected by Cornerstone could be funded out of the.
A little bit, it is, I mean, I have to say, okay, when I'm looking at that number, I'm looking at 25-75, because I know 75% is gonna go for, now we're flipping the other side, for assessments, when we start sending out notices and print, and that's costly, we've never done it. I mean, think about it, you haven't done it, and if I do, let's say I do 10 this year alone, that's not even built into this number yet. What if that's $3,000 to itself, that I have to mail out to everybody in the watershed to have a hearing? You know, it'd be nice if we just put out social media and whoever shows up, great, but that doesn't work that way, so. And then I gotta print up the rates and everything and send it to everybody, so.
So you've already accounted for the things that would be affected
Yes.
by the Cornerstone?
Yeah, I've already looked at all that.
And transfer that into expenses from the perpetuation fund?
Right, yeah, and then Todd's help been great, beyond great, has been, it's our drains, and that's what's gonna help us do our assessments. So there's stuff I don't ask for because it's covered through the auditor's office that, you know, if I had to go buy that, you wouldn't wanna know the number, and then the license every year, we have to renew it, so it's expensive out there. So I appreciate it.
We'll get the information, that'd be great. Thanks for coming by,
All right,
sorry
well,
about
thanks
that,
for-
the short time.
We did a good job putting it together, but then, like, what we had, it was not the full picture,
It's
so
okay.
I know
Sorry,
that was
didn't
really
clear enough.
confusing.
It's helpful to know where we are with. All right.
You guys want me to do the prosecutor while I'm here too?
Well,
I'll be happy
you know-
to. Andrew doesn't need anything. Get in here. Oh my God.
I'm not sure you want to offend the prosecutor.
No, I have no problem. No, I love you guys. Thanks for showing
I
up.
know Kim thinks he's the only person in county government.
You know him well.
Somebody call 911.
We convinced us.
Thank you.
Dave,
You want this one?
what page is your video?
Oh, yeah. You want,
So this is for
I'm
the
not copying everything.
Okay, cause I got a video.
I'll do it myself today.
I'll do it when I get home.
Okay,
Yeah, sure, it's not a
I
normal.
can't find it.
We're just, alright, I have a PowerPoint here, so they're gonna have IT.
Of course you do.
Yeah, well, I just, I mean, I thought we just modern technology.
You are who you are.
Yeah.
Which one will be looking at?
Yeah, so, kind of what, I was planning on going through the individual general fund, budgets, but the nature of the one specific increase that we're requesting in the, prosecutor general fund budget, which is the Acts on Justice, which I have a lot more, information on here about,
Okay.
So your 2026 budget is gonna be zero? I'm just teasing you, that's what's on our thing. The total isn't there.
oh, I see.
That's really nice of you to
Yeah,
get entire
no, that's,
budget
yeah,
back.
that's,
Yeah.
Nah, those cells just got adjusted because, like, it's a balanced budget.
Oh.
You see it? Those cells.
You come out of retirement here?
Well, it is a little different. But it's mostly the same.
We thought you were over there. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it has.
Do you want to talk about it a bit before it comes along?
Yeah, I mean, so back in, okay, so kinda, can I just use this and, use a computer and do the PowerPoint that way? I don't need it on TV. It's easier to do PowerPoint.
Good luck, 'cause it's really slow.
Okay. So we use a system called, which is,
Let me start up this one. Discovery criminal cases has become unbelievably difficult to come. And they have been, we provide funding for all these, the police videos, you know. We have to deal with that stuff. There's no funding for us to deal with that stuff. One of the primary problems we've been having is, we have a system where police officers do reports. They send us a report when charges are filed, somebody's arrested, they give us a report. If they do follow-up on that and do another report about anything, oh, somebody called, said this, even if they're denying anything, if it doesn't get in our file, it's not updated to the court. We end up in cases that are going to trial, that defense attorneys are going, you got a Brady violation, discovery, we didn't get all that. Well, we didn't even have it. And it's become such an incredible problem. First, serious cases are gonna get dismissed. I mean, serious, because it's the serious cases that these affect more than just the run-of-the-mill case, something like about murders and rapes and some of the more serious cases. And we've had a couple of judges here that are on the verge of fining us money for not complying with the discovery. We don't have the ability to do it because we don't even get that information from the police. Hamilton County, for example, was fined $150,000 of prosecutor's office. I'm not paying that money. It's gonna come from county government money if that happens. The judges are finding that, beyond that, the police can get dismissed. And you look at the other side of that, are the police videos. It's almost impossible. Somebody has to sit and go through those things. We don't have a staff for that. I mean, we don't get any more staff when all these things get thrown on top of us. We don't get any more staff to do that. Somebody has to look through every one of these police videos on cases that are being prepared for trial to see what's on there, to know what's going on. And you're talking about hours of police videos in cases. This is a system that makes that so much easier. And discovery issues from the police, they put it in the system, then it gets to us. You know, every time we go to report on one of these cases where there's discovery, yeah, well, I did the report, yeah. You got the report, we don't have the report. It's not possible for us to comply. This is a system that we funded it this year with our own money, correct? You know,
Yeah, we signed a 5-year contract with Axon. Obviously, the prosecutor has their own contracting ability. Other agencies don't. Judges, prosecutors can contract. Obviously, that's dependent on funding, as all Axon justice clients are government. So obviously, everything's in a 1-year.
we are woefully understaffed in this prosecutor's office. Given the amount of crime that we have, you know, when we went through, we tried to fund that with the lit tax that we did. That was a problem. You know what the message was? From every municipality in this county, crime is our biggest problem. Crime is our biggest problem. We're the 13th largest county, we're third in sending people to prison. Only Indianapolis and Fort Wayne send more people to prison than Madison County. That's the kind of community that we live in. We have 12 deputy prosecutors that we should have. We're understaffed by, if you look at the state, has put together a list of given caseload, we're 12 prosecutors short.
It's 15.
15.
And so we have, I've talked a lot about the 2019 study that IPAC did with funding and staffing levels. They updated that study, that just came out in June of this year, and we're 15 prosecutors short of where we would have if we were just matching public defender caseloads. So the public defenders have to meet caseload standards in the state of Indiana.
But we
in
want
order
to
to
get the
that-
reimbursement.
in order to get that
They
reimbursement.
don't care about us.
Just to meet that same caseload standards, which I argue they should be very different because we bear the burden of proof in case the public defender can essentially, you get a case and you don't really have to do anything affirmatively, go to trial and sit there.
And you come to
it's-
court half the time, first time they ever see their attorneys when you're sitting in court. Hey, you don't even know who the defendant is, a lot of them. We have to prepare those cases. They can sit there and do nothing if they want to, or just pot shot our cases. Our deputies have to prepare these cases. We have the most, we do more with less than any prosecutor's office in the state.
Yeah,
We're-
that's,
We're on the verge of getting in serious trouble to the courts, not being able to meet our burden for discovery. And it's gonna cost the county a lot of money. If our judges weren't so understanding, we'd already be in there, to be honest with you. And this Axiom system is a way to help us meet our burden and put the county in the least risk possible. That's what I would say.
so if I wanna go through a couple of things here, so we continue to lead, DOC censuses per 100,000 in the state of Indiana. If you look here, like our population is 130.
You can cover the,
Yeah, we don't need the camera up there.
Okay,
that just doesn't.
Much better.
Alright, hey, there we go.
okay, so if you look here, our population 130,000. If you look at our felony case rank, we rank 10th in the state of Indiana in felony case burden. We're the 13th largest county. So it's not like we have necessarily, we have a top 10 crime rate essentially when it comes to felony crime. Nobody, I hope nobody in this room thinks that we have a higher crime rate than Lake County. Lake County obviously has a population of 500,000. They only sent 281 people directly to prison. Last year we sent 600. We send 34% of major felony cases end up with prison sentences, which is second in the state, and then our rank amongst DOC per 100,000 there. This is that updated version of the report by the Association of Prosecuting Attorneys, where we need 35.43 attorneys just to be fully staffed. That 21.8 number comes from they count. We have 3 part-time deputy prosecutors. They count those at 0.6, so 0.6 to 21.8. We only have 61% of the recommended attorneys and 57% of the recommended staff, and we still are 81st out of the 91 officers offices for the case of prosecution. This isn't clicking forward.
You have to hit the keyboard up or down arrow, next page, from the top.
That's not on that. Would be on that one. Oh, there we go. So these are those caseload standards. That's what the caseload.
Not that top.
Anyway, that's what the caseload burden should be. Just using the same public defender standards there. I mean, there's not a prosecutor in our office. For instance, if you're looking at misdemeanors, you can only carry 400 a year. We have when we were able to add from ARPA money, a second deputy prosecutor. Before that, our one misdemeanor deputy had 4,000. She had the highest caseload in the entire state of Indiana for prosecuting attorney. We still have what I would venture to say is the highest caseload.
We have two, so they're probably split.
And part of that issue is our ARPA funding for our second deputy prosecutors, even when we're using that 21.8 number, that includes one ARPA deputy that is funded through the end of next year. So that's something that we're obviously going to be asking for, is to full-time fund that after the end of next year. You know, with just our caseload itself, I mean, we'd be taking a step back into what would probably be measured as the worst funded prosecutor's office. Now we're just one of the worst. But if we lost another deputy, that would make us probably the worst. But if you look through these here, you click forward. This is just other way. Other way. No, go that one. How did that? So that's a video from the beginning of the presentation. I don't know how I got there, but that's a video. So we were actually featured by, and let's take the time at this point, but the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council asked our office to participate in a video about a murder case that I had tried, and the victim's family participated in that, and it really kind of goes to show what we have to deal with in these cases.
It goes out to prosecutors across the state, showing that to council members across the state. Honestly, I say that humbly, and we're recognized as doing this about as well as anybody in the state. I think we may have the best office in the state dealing with which we are widely respected. You know, that's why we come here and ask us to do these things.
So these are kind of what we started talking about when it comes to Axon, just those discovery rules and our obligations, which we're certainly having to comply with. The problem is that, you know, in the age of digital evidence, you have to have the sources and methods to accomplish that, to be able to receive that evidence from law enforcement, and be able to turn that over in a timely manner, to redact things that we have to redact. With what was a system called e-discovery. E-discovery was sort of a free system that was provided by IPAC. It's not free, IPAC was paying for it. It's essentially just a Google share graph. There's no ability to control the evidence. It's basically you receive it and can share it. There's no other tools of access issues with that. The problem is as all 91 prosecutors' offices got onto e-discovery, you can imagine that data becomes a massive issue, you know, with videos, photographs, case reports, all this kind of stuff. So we were having to, going to need to pay for our own data storage. And that became something where if we're going to spend that much money, tens of thousands of dollars in data storage, we might as well look for a much better product that allows us to do what we want to do with the discovery and to be able to access and manage that better. And then also e-discovery was sort of a contract project that IPAC paid a particular company in Indiana called PC4 to build this product, and they're not like updating it and making it any better. Axon is a multi-billion-dollar, you know, international company that is continuing to come out with new resources and stuff like that. So I'll just skip this. Is it this way? Yes. So yeah, and then the other thing that happened was the rules of the criminal discovery rules changed effective July 1 of 2024. And so we have to turn over, instead of just a reasonable amount of time, we have to turn over things within 30 days, stuff like that. And this applies to us whether we know about this stuff or not. That's one of the, obviously, the frustrating things is if law enforcement has it in their hands, the state is always viewed as the state, so it is applied to
They
us.
don't give it to us,
Yeah.
we still pay the price for it, and the victims pay the price, because that's the cases that you dismiss.
So this is the e-discovery system, and then Axon. So some of the features that we have with that are unlimited cloud storage, redaction tools. One of the one of the comprehensive audit trails are essential for us because it shows when we receive things, when we send them to defense attorneys. I'm not saying that they're trying to materially misrepresent things, but a lot of times you'd be in court and say, I never got that, and we can prove that you did. And so, and it shows when they received it, when they accessed it, and all kinds of stuff. So it really puts us in a much better position to defend ourselves when they're saying, I never got that. With e-discovery, we don't have any tools like that. There's some full integration with Celebrite, which is going to be really great for us because one of the things it's going to save us funding in that we're already paying through our high-tech crime budget and some from our general fund budget is the purchasing of hard drives. So every time a cell phone, for instance, is taken to the high-tech crime unit, we have to make essentially 3 copies of this cell phone on a hard drive data. One goes to the prosecutor, one goes back to the investigating law enforcement officer, and then one goes to the defense attorney. And here we can, in Q2, they're delayed a little bit because Q2 is now over, but within, I guess, Q3, they'll roll out this full integration of Celebrite, which is the extraction software that we use at the high-tech crime unit. So instead of having to put this on the hard drives, we can actually just put it into Axon. And so we can save that. It also transcodes 95% of codecs, and what that means is security cameras, this building, that building, it is a nightmare for law enforcement because they all run on different softwares. So you have to have a proprietary player to view. I don't know if you've ever dabbled in security camera footage, but it is a nightmare. And one of the things that Axon actually does is it transcodes those into a same like MP4 file, where you still have the original, so it doesn't alter the evidence, but you have a viewable MP4 file, stuff like that. And then automatic AI transcripts for video and audio, which is just incredible for us. It still doesn't eliminate the need for a lot of transcripts because transcripts, in order to admit them into court or to use them in court, they need to be sworn by a court reporter. We can't just rely on AI to say, see here in the transcript, it says you did. Right? AI still has its problems. But for prosecutors and defense attorneys and stuff, when you're trying to review videos, it's really great because it's a 45-minute interview, 2-hour interview. There's rapport building at the beginning. Oh, I know your aunt, that kind of thing. I'm like, I don't care about that. Like, and you can go straight to the part, and then it's clickable where you want to go to this part where you see them saying this. You just click on that, and it goes to that part of the video, so you can actually watch it for yourself. Really cool stuff. And then our ability, this is just kind of what it looks like, but, and then several of the agencies like the Sheriff's Department, State Police, DNR, they already use Axon, and then it also gives us intake portals for the other agencies, so it funds that for them as well, and just those costs, it's about $52,000 a year, so that's what we built into our 39,000 line item in the prosecutor general fund.
Can I say one more thing before we leave this topic? I've been around here a really long time. And one of the things that I grow frustrated about is everybody turns in their budget every year. It could be a 1950 budget. And then that budget gets turned in again at 5%, cut 5%. There's very few changes that ever go into anybody's budget. Here it is. And no one ever looks at it. No one ever sees what it is. No one ever looks at staffing. One thing I said for a number of years, when we go to e-filing, something like that, it adds more burden on some offices and less burden on other offices. No one ever notices or checks. The clerk's office was a perfect example. They had about 3 extra people up there that were doing a lot of these entries in the books. Originally, when I came here, they got these huge books and they had to do these entries in these books because that was all gone, and we had people up there that weren't doing it. And when Linda came in, I said something to her, and I think she's reduced that by about 3 employees, but then maybe added others somewhere else. But I mean, no one ever comes in and does an assessment on who needs what. And are the staffing numbers right? It's like it's always been what it's always been, and that's always been frustrating to me. And you look at an office like ours that continues to have more and more issues, and over time, crime has become a much bigger problem than it was in 1970 or whenever it was, but the budget just, here's 5% or whatever the increase is and move on, and no one ever examines the changes. You know, maybe the treasurer's office needs more people and more money, but no one ever looks into that. No one ever does an assessment on what are the staffing and who needs what. It's always just stays the same as it's always been, and that's when you, in a community like ours, a county that has very limited resources that are being stretched to the brink. I think it's critical that we look at some of those things and see where the overstaffing is occurring and who needs more and who needs less. Just my point of view for whatever that's worth.
And I would be remiss if, we haven't built in specific requested raises, in this budget for deputy prosecutors. We have done that every year, since, I've been chief deputy. I found that to be unsuccessful. It doesn't really change. I understand that the county is working with, the additional money that, the county has for the next budget from this budget. But I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about not just our staffing shortages, but we continue, to fall very behind on prosecutor funding salaries. I understand everybody's salary is low in this building, but when I try to go hire a secretary, I can get resumes and applications. I have to beg, borrow, and steal to hire prosecutors. And now we are at a point where, because we didn't, again, take any step forward last year, there are a good number of prosecutors' offices in the state of Indiana that their lowest starting salary for day one out of law school is higher than some of our deputy prosecutors that are making our highest salary point from the county, which is $105,000. And somebody like Jen Haley that makes $105,000 has been a prosecutor for 35 years, was a magistrate judge, was the chief of the criminal division in Marion County. And just because she works in Madison County, she makes less money than if she walked in day one in Wayne County. And I'm not talking about like Hamilton County. I'm not trying to point to Marshall County. Their starting salary is $101,000. These are not Hamilton Boone. If you just look through the prosecutor salaries, and I understand $100,000 sounds like a lot of money. It's not when you have $200,000 of student loan debt, and this is, you know, you can go.
Prosecutors in virtually every other county are making more than we are. Delaware County, Hamilton County, all the surrounding counties, which they're all making a lot more. And what I would say, what I would add to that is, for those of you who are new on the council, and from 2010 until we got the lit tax, what was that, 20?
That was 2021.
Our office spent $1.8 million of our discretionary monies to float the prosecutor's office's salaries. That's not our responsibility, that's the county's responsibility, but the money's just not there. And if we weren't using that money to try to supplement salaries, we'd have less people coming in. Like Andrew said, we post a resume and nobody will apply for 3 months. We won't even get a resume for 3 months.
Yeah. And if they
Because
do,
you
they
can
have
go
like a pending
anywhere else.
OWI or something.
Yeah.
I get real suspicious when I get a good looking resume. Something's up.
And I heard you talk about the treasurer's office, and I understand that, you know, there's not enough money to go around, and where do you fund the money? I understand that it's a huge problem for you guys, it really is. We don't have enough money in this community, but I think you have to make hard decisions, and maybe looking at what offices are overfunded and things like that might help out. And when I hear the people in the treasurer's office making $29,000, I don't even know how they live on that. I mean, I don't know, making 45, if they weren't, most of these women weren't married, they couldn't make it. They just couldn't make it. They have to have a significant other, or they wouldn't be able to pay their bills. And so I understand the issues, but I get back to crime is the biggest problem we have in this community. 70% of our budget, basically between the jail, the sheriff, the courts, the prosecutor, 70% of our budget, and it's our biggest problem. And where do you get the funding? That's a hard question for you guys to make, but this is something that is gonna prevent us from having serious financial exposure and losing cases that it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen if we don't do this, it's gonna happen.
Andrew, could you cite some loss of a case, justice? fines, that sort of thing, the 52,000, yeah, sounds like it's a good clerk and someone's a prosecutor. But how much, the efficiency, is that one or two people couldn't even do that job?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, I mean,
the
if we had,
software
if we had people do that
effectively-
software,
If you didn't have that.
10 or 20. I mean, because when you're talking about the transcripts and stuff like that, I mean, that is,
Yeah, cut
that
down
is
to 10.
like, well, no, I'm talking about if we tried to have people do what Axon does, is that what your
That-
question?
yes.
That's like 10 or 20 people, because, I'm not saying we
So it
would
helps you be
reduce,
more
I'm saying
efficient
it would be,
in other
yeah,
areas.
it's absolutely, I mean, it's, I'm not saying, a lot of the things that Axon does, we don't do right now, so it's not like it would eliminate positions or something. I'm just saying that it allows us to do what another 10 or 20 employees would allow us to do, but a lot more effective and technically accurately. But, you know, when you're talking about how, I try to stay on the forefront of technology. This is the direction that prosecution is going. That's why there's been 18 offices or so that have signed up with Axon in the past couple years. And in fact, you know, it's something where every month we're getting new features and stuff like that. So it's just a no-brainer.
And you look at most of these counties, I mean, 2/3 of them, like 35,000, some of them have 2 or 3 prosecutors, they don't have any serious crime, so it's really hard to put it in that context. But if you look at the counties over 100,000, those are the ones that have serious issues. They have more crime, more problems, more trials, more discovery issues, and virtually everybody's ahead of us. Everybody. I mean, we give the numbers when we say we're third or fourth in the state every year sending people to prison. Well, we're only competing really against 10 or 15 counties. The rest couldn't compete against us if the counties are so small and nothing ever happens. But those are the counties that have the majority of crime in Indiana. And, you know, Hamilton County, for example, I know we don't want to compare to Hamilton County, we can. But they have 2 more prosecutors than they need. And you know, they don't have any crime, and they've got like 34 prosecutors. They have 2 full-time child support prosecutors. We have 1 part-time, and they have 2,000 fewer cases. But I mean, and we send more people here. So they have more people in their county, more deputies, but they have less crime. But most of these counties are so small that nothing really, there isn't much going on. We have one of the toughest criminal environments in the state of Indiana. We really do. Anybody that knows anything about it.
So is it fair to say that the first $50,000 increase in the department you would choose, of all the ways of spending it, would be for this?
Yeah, I think it's essential at this point, especially because we've already jumped on that, and we wanted to try to fund that as a demo project, sort of to see how successful it would
This
be.
year out of our discretion.
Right, and it is a core operation of our office. It is a core obligation. It's something that should be funded through the general fund, through the rules with our discretionary fund. Our discretionary fund should not ever be, you know, they should be to supplement, not supplant. You know, I mean, it should not take the funding obligations of the county. But we wanted to make sure that it worked well, and we found that it does. I still have some frustrations. I've been on some email chain, you know, I assure you that I do, but overall it's very, very good. And it's something that it would also be an expense for us to come off of it, because now all of our data over the past year or so has been built into Axon, and so to move that out it's very complicated. But that would be our first priority, and our second priority would be everybody's salary, but it's prosecutor salary, because it's just a supply and demand problem. Like I said, I value every employee we have, but when we post jobs, it's much more difficult to find prosecutors, and it's also the difference between a good and a bad one is much greater for the public of Madison County than the difference between a good and a bad secretary, for instance. You know, the difference is marginal in the work product. If you value their work.
And the people that come to work for us as prosecutors, they're not.
We don't see that in medicine.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, we hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It'd be better for them if they did that.
Yeah, hey, listen, we've had some move here once they start working here, which,
Any questions? I apologize, we need to.
absolutely.
Anybody have any other questions or comments?
You got prosecutor, and then what are the other two behind it? One's 4D, is it?
Yeah, just the 4D funding, I mean, obviously, once again, remember, you know, it's reimbursed by the state 66%.
Which one's that, the six?
That's the 4D, that's all of 4D, the general fund 4D money.
0660.
Yeah,
And it's how much for?
66.
66. Anything the Gulfport County spends gets reimbursed 66%.
Okay,
And 96 is the two.
Is that our high trade fund unit?
No, that is,
We have so many budgets.
prosecute victim advocate.
Okay, the victim advocate, again, that's, you know, there's only partially one salary. Most of our victim advocates are funded by grant funding. We just have partial of one salary. Betsy's salary is funded out of there, and it's in odds in there.
It's 6 candidates,
Yeah, 6.
and only one is funded that way. One county.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Has anybody used phone number on Amazon for money?
appreciate you coming by. Thank you, guys.
What'd you say?
I know.
One in your backyard that you're not telling us?
No, I said that, I mean.
All right, guys, we're moving on to
Don't say that
courthouse.
again about there's no tree, money tree. I'm like, well, this.
But that's how you do it. That's exactly why you put it. You wish it was.
I think that's allowed.
I don't, did our thing stop recording here?
They did, yeah.
Good. Thank you. All right. Welcome, guys. Come by. Well, share with us your budgets and why you think it should be what it is.
Top three things are, putting in for a 5% raise for David.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
I couldn't hear you, I couldn't hear what you said.
One of our first three, I put in for a 10% raise for Dana,
The assistant property.
assistant property manager,
Okay?
because she's way below what. She has to move up. Put in for a 5% raise.
It's 5% for the videos.
5% for everybody else. Number two would be, other services and charge. $20,000 added to that, so from 130 to 150.
Sorry, could you help me know where you are again?
He's on.
Third page.
Okay.
It's, there's a control right through where it says number 2, the top of page 3. It's missing number 2, that's the second priority.
Okay. Oh, gotcha, all right.
And then number three would be.
Well, can you back up a second, sir? So you're asking for a $20,000 increase, and what is that exactly for?
So those expenses are for like contractual services, so our elevator services,
Boiler services.
So those contracts are going up, is that what you're saying?
well, so it was, so this year's 130, that may not, we might have to come and increase that, request to increase that this year. Cause they did go up this year, and then they are gonna go up next year.
So you're suggesting that 150,000 you're asking for
basically with all of our contractual things for our water treatment, elevator maintenance, trash pickup, pest control, elevator permits, everything that has to be done to stay in code is roughly about $122,000 a year. Then we also have Elwood Fire to the, fire equipment, inspections and all things like that. That runs anywhere from $9,000 to $16,000 a year, depending on what they see needs done, as far as like replacing certain fire equipment, things like that. And then, we also use that for anything that may come up that would come out of that line. So 150 would give us a little bit of wiggle room if something were to come up, depending on where Elwood Fire runs us. But that would keep us in a green area so that we can pay for all those contractual services, Elwood Fire and then other things that may come up.
Okay,
Three would be repair and maintenance, 210, 220. It's just prices are going up.
Plus with our past expenditures, like in 2024, for instance, was $226,000. Our 25 budget's only set at $210,000, so if we get anywhere near that, we'll be under. We can't really predict what we're gonna need in that line, just because that's for, like, anything that may go down, water heaters, HVAC things, like that. But generally, 22 was 230,000, 23 was 213,000, and 24 was 226,000. So I think 220,000 would set us in a kind of comfortable zone. And I guess if we go to the 226,000 or any more, then we would have to come back and request, money. But I think that 220,000 would be a more ideal number to go with. That way we don't have to come back after anything.
And then the only other thing would be longevity. That's maybe 550. 9275.
Now, we did decrease, the 42,000 building repairs. The last few years, we've had some planned, repairs. At this time, we do not. But that's our bigger line, like bigger expense line for instance, our cooling tower that went down a couple of years ago, that cost us $45,000 just for that one thing. So those are things that are within the structure, like part of the structure, so they cost more to repair. So we dropped that 10,000, was hoping to leave that at 70, for things like that, that may come up. And, we dropped our improvement other than building by 20,000.
Which line item is that one?
The building repairs, or
Well, the building repairs, I see that 4,200, you dropped that by 10.
Yep, the 43,000, other improvements.
Oh, you're good. That doesn't know.
just takes a while to sort of acclimate your vision to the form.
Same thing, we don't have any projects, so like this year, we had parking lots that we had to seal coat and things like that. We've got that all taken care of, so we don't have anything, to do with that, but we still have things that can come up, just like the storm that we had earlier this year. Highway fence came down, we had to use that to pay for the highway fence repair. So we dropped it 20,000 to kind of compensate for the increases that we were asking for. Since we don't have any plan. But so we would still need money in there just in case something like that does come up. Yeah, outside of that, that's what we have.
And then the machinery equipment, is that what was in there this year, the 86,000?
Yes. We do have another truck that we're gonna purchase, to repair.
Replace, GMC, of course, and local
To your question, that's the same.
Yes, it is the same, that did not change.
Okay? So your net
So,
is a bump of 33,000 something.
yes, 33,760.
Which will include the raises and rises of different funds you asked for with the decreases from the others.
Yes, with all that together is 33,764.
So I just wanna back you up, you said in the $86,000 you're buying a new truck.
Mhm.
So what's wrong with your truck?
So it's a
2013.
2013 GMC, it's got a lot of rust to it, high miles. So it's gonna be a 13, 14-year-old truck. So that's what we're hoping to replace. We use our trucks for snow removal, so they go through a lot.
So,
Sounds 25, right,
just to clarify that again, the machinery and equipment, 86,000. That's where you're buying the truck from this year.
No.
No, for the 20, we're wanting to use the, out of the 26 fair, so we get for
So you approved 86,000.
For 25.
You need another 86,000 for 26. You're saying that's what?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought you said, I just wanted to make sure I understood what you said.
Yes.
Okay, so this is something we're learning this year, just a standard sheet.
Okay.
Would be great.
So that 86,000 is, this is just hard for me to follow these totals.
That column is.
The
what it
first
was
column?
From 25.
It
And if
should
it
include.
doesn't change, it's just nothing else on that line. If it changes, it's over to the right.
Yeah, this is the 25.
I just
And
wanna
this is
make
the
sure that,
26, it just wasn't there.
Well, and I just wanna make sure that, Diana brought up the fact that, so the 26 requested budget, is that 86,000 in that?
Yes.
Okay, okay.
I see.
yeah, anything not
Good
listed,
question.
didn't change.
Okay.
Thank you.
We need to have one form for all offices.
Well, we're
learning.
we're on a learning curve,
Yes,
aren't we now?
we
Okay.
are, yes.
Anybody else have any questions or comments with regard to the maintenance?
Just, I just have the one, when you mentioned, the, 420, whatever you call it, 42,000, the building repairs. I can look back, but I was thinking that was way lower, and then one year, when he had that project, he,
Did a lot of those.
increased that.
Out at the juvenile center.
Yeah.
and then it was like, okay, we can decrease that. I just don't want this to be something that, okay, we increased it, like you had mentioned before, we increased it one year, and oh, I got forgotten, just double checking.
No, we had a bunch in it that one year because we replaced, we did almost every
Yeah, that was
roof out of
300 and
Houston.
some thousand.
Yeah,
each.
in
Okay.
2023 was 300,000.
Oh, thank you for looking.
That's what I was. But in 2022 was 43,000.
Okay, thank you very much.
Should be nice to project that over the course of time and just make it even, right? Security?
Basically longevity, and then, it'll go from 3150 to 3300. And then the uniform maintenance go from 500 to 1,000.
We did a 5%.
Otherwise, it's a 5% raise across, that
Yeah.
really accounts for
Yeah.
the difference.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. We were asking to increase the uniform line of 60,500. We have 7 employees there, it's kind of hard to get them anything. Three of those employees work out of Hartman, so they usually need jackets and things like that. But that's outside of the 5% longevity and uniform, so we were asking to increase.
Questions? thank you for coming and for sharing it, thanks for articulating what we asked you to do.
We tried.
Yes, thank you.
A little different for us too, so.
We're all trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I understand.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you. What?
Okay. I think we have,
It's, nice, when you see location.
Oh, there it is.
Come on in.
Yes.
Where do you want us at?
Have a seat,
Oh.
there are a couple of chairs.
Okay, wherever. Everybody, welcome, afternoon.
This is what I'm just thinking, you realize you got a lot of old people on this council, right?
Thank you.
You have the unfortunate, position of catching us right before lunch and potty breaks. So,
I'm a pastor, so I shouldn't keep you for more than an hour. Yeah,
You got two youngins that can see really well.
You guys, you all do whatever you wanna do and need to do. We can make it a working lunch, I'm
This
used
is-
to that.
The font on this is perfect, just so you know. The font,
Oh,
that's great.
thank you.
can tell you had young eyes. Okay,
Oh,
so share
yeah.
with us your budget and why you think it
Okay.
should be what it is.
So, I am only asking, you wanted the top three things, so that's been listed. And as you all know, there was some cuts last year that majorly affected this year, including during the recent tornadoes. I'm asking for, out of my control, the amount that was cut last year in the 3,900, which was $3,300. I'm asking for that to be put back in because currently I'm supposed to start paying building supplies for the building on my half, my share for the year, because we split it with dispatch and I do not have that. And dispatch probably will have to end up paying that full amount this year. So I'm asking for the 3,300 to be put back into there. Also, another biggie for you all is the line item 39009. That is the county's mass notification system, the Nixle system that you get on your phones and emails. That was increased this year, and that was not budgeted last year. It actually increased $1,035. So what I did, instead of having asked it for new money, EMA, I transferred from 3,900 what was in there to cover the cost of that. And I've been told that, or we got a notice, that it will probably be another 5% increase next year for the system due to computer upgrades. So, and then there was a $500 cut last year in line item 4,400. Was asking that to be put back in because all of our computers, being told by IT, are out of date, or most of them will not be able to be upgraded from August. So I'm gonna have to start looking at some way to replace all of this. A few things for the council to know is the deadline is this Friday for my deputy director spot. So we'll be looking to hire that. No pay increases, and I'm just asking the council, I don't want a pay increase, I'm just asking for some assistance in keeping the department running. I do have on here, 2023's budget was $208,000, 2024's EMA budget was $213,000, 2025's EMA budget was $191,000. And my proposed budget, including those three, the 1, 2, and 3, which I really need additional in those line items really bad, my total proposed budget is $202,000, which is still less than 23's, 24's, and the margin is slightly above, I believe, 5% to 10% more for the cost of things. Just like right now, so the council does have an idea. The print cartridges for printers. We have 3 printers, my administrative assistant, myself, and the deputy. I don't have money in the printing line item to buy print for my deputy's printer when he's hired. So he's not gonna have a printer because it takes 4 print cartridges and each are about $150 a cartridge. We don't lease, the printers, because I don't wanna have to use, I don't wanna have to take that money. The other thing that I did wanna tell the council is I saved almost $3,000 this year, because I discovered when I took over as director, there was a landline phone, yes, an old school 18th landline phone, had been for 40 years. When the EMA director's office was out of his house, I had that discontinued. And that saved quite a bit of money, so what I ended up doing with the savings for that was, instead of having to move money around, we have a huge message board that we can take to anywhere, put up, we used it at the courthouse during the elections, and we put it on Main Street and it said, poll workers only. Well, that takes a cellular contract. So basically the money that I saved from the landline phone, I can utilize. So I'm trying to, if you wanna say, rob Peter to pay Paul, but there are a few things that if we cannot get, I never know how much gas is gonna be. So that was a request for an increase. My second was for, and here's a biggie, I requested $1,000 additional for repairs without labor. And the reason for this, council, is I'm finding out, we try to do most of our repairs in-house, all right? Batteries, alternators, that sort of thing. The tariffs have gone up drastically on auto parts. For example, I just had to pay almost $700 for a battery for one of the commissions. And then office supplies, I asked for an increase. I found out during the tornado, which is, the disasters is what EMA is for. Disasters are what EMA, why I exist, why you have me. I went through a ton. We are still in the approval stage for the presidential declaration. I can tell you that it is still going forward. We are hopeful that it will be signed and we will be able to get some reimbursement back to the county highway, EMA, but I used a tremendous amount of office supplies because during a disaster, everything has to go through your EMA director. So I had to do everything from every organization that was submitting requests, I'm the one. So with the cost of office supplies, those are my 1, 2, and 3, and then I'm requesting to be put back in what was cut last year because I can't keep, I just don't have enough. We've discussed the 3,900. That is not only for my training and the statewide training, but that's the building supplies, and I'm not gonna be able to assist with that. And I do have copies of these that make it a little bit bigger. I try not to come to the council unless it's an absolute last resort. I actually even have how much I have in each account right now. I keep very, very solid figures on it. I try to transfer within the same line items instead of having to come and ask. So the only things that I'm asking for is what we have discovered this year with the tariffs, the unknown on the fuel, office supplies for why I exist in the event that we have another disaster, and a little bit of help for that and the replacement of what was done last year. And I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
So like in your equipment line, you're actually asking for an increase of $2,000, correct?
In the 440?
Yeah.
So I'm showing this year being 7,000. Oh, yes, I guess no, that should be, we were asking for an actual increase of 1,500. So I greatly apologize for that. I didn't want to go, 2,000 is too much. I was asking for an additional 1,500, so that's my fault. It should only be 8,500. I can work with that.
Okay, so then I want to just make sure these other lines are.
Absolutely.
So the Nixle was,
Yeah.
an increase of 2,075, right?
Correct.
And then other buildings, that was an increase of 3,300.
That actually is what was cut during last year's budget. Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
Okay, and then printing, you're asking for an additional $250,
That-
that goes up.
That is correct, yes ma'am.
Other supplies, $250. I think it's probably just gonna be that one line, cause you had two numbers in that.
Yes
line.
ma'am, and I apologize for
That's
that.
all right.
I've been so worried and concerned of making a good impression and getting this right that I must have failed after all.
That's all good.
And we discovered a lot of the shortfalls during the tornadoes, where, a lot of the expenditures this year, council, from this year's budget is from the tornadoes. The reason I'm asking for 1,500 additional in line item 2,200 operational supplies is in the event of another disaster. We went about 7 days, 24 hours a day, and that was a whole lot of fuel. And I'm gonna be right at the limit if I can make it through the year with what fuel I have currently. I have right around $8,000 left for fuel, and we got 5 months left, and I average 1,400 to 1,500 a month. Because I actually have for the council, this is not the primary reason for emergency management, but you all see the cars out and everything. Year to date, we have responded, this is emergency calls from the sheriff's department, whomever, 198 times we have been called out by some emergency department. That's all done by volunteers. We have volunteered for Madison County 6,981 hours for this year. If you use the $25 mark that FEMA gives, that means we've saved dollars, not counting benefits. If county highway would have had to go sit on the trees down, the lines down, if a deputy would have had to go sit. So you look, I know that my department doesn't make the county money, but I hope that I can show you and you see that we save the county money, because if it had been, if the county would have had to pay overtime, it would have been $175,000, which is almost what the entire agency budget is, and that is with all volunteers, and that's just one small aspect of EMA, and that's a lot of calls. That's more calls than some fire departments do. So hopefully you understand, and that's my rhyme and reason for the few increases. I didn't go anything overboard, and I hope I can justify to you all the line items that I need that for. Because like I said, right now, when I do hire a deputy, I don't have enough to even do no credit. So that's it. And free for anything else you might want. I have, yes, so that is something else to say this year. I have not had a deputy since I was put in the executive spot January 1st. So.
I might need to transfer if you're running short on gas or some other supplies or something. I need fund,
possibly out of that payroll line item, I would. I hope not to have to do that, but I have saved the county a substantial amount by not filling that spot, but it's to the point now that I need that second spot. No pay increases, and he will be, she, whoever it is, will be fully aware that I don't do this for a raise and pay increase. I do it because this is my life and what I breathe, and that person will know the same thing, that it is what it is. The salary is what it is. So I did save some. We had a little bit in our budget since I haven't filled that spot. And everything we do for the county. Everything we do is straightforward county resources. So that's all I have.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you all. Thank you all.
You did a good job.
Thank you.
Great job.
That makes me feel really good.
It was exactly what we asked.
You're one of the few.
I'm the newbie in this position, but not the newbie in EMA, so thank you all.
Thank you.
Yes, so a couple of questions, guys. Lunch is sitting out here. How do you wanna do this? Do you wanna think about moving to chambers? Do you wanna just stay in here? What, we can do whatever you wanna do, and then how are we gonna negotiate lunch here, do you think, Todd?
Lunch right here.
It's
How
kind
are
of,
we serving it?
yeah, I'm thinking about mechanics and just serving it.
What do we have?
It's a salad, some sandwiches.
Oh, I thought you got us a steak, put it out here.
It was not, we ordered your steak medium rare.
Oh.
You want to put it down here, and then we'll just do a little buffet?
You guys aren't doing a working lunch, are you?
No.
Okay.